Hello. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate you coming. Means a lot. Today, I thought we'd do a little video. 9 reasons why you should try magic mushrooms at some point in your life. Now, before we get into it, we have several reasons, 9 as we mentioned, why you should try magic mushrooms. I do want to take a moment to say that we do not condone the use of illegal substances. And magic mushrooms are prohibited in many countries. For the purposes of this video, we are going to assume that no laws are being broken. Don't break the law. It's very bad. We'd hate for you to break the law. Coming in at number 9 on our list of why you should do magic mushrooms is euphoria.
Euphoria. Number 9? Euphoria is the 9th best reason to take mushrooms?
Well, yeah, I mean, you had a reason for putting it at number 9.
Yeah, I did. Because it is, in my opinion, only the 9th best out of 9.
I agree.
A lot of things you can have euphoria from a headache pattern. Euphoria comes in many shapes and forms, and it's usually short-lived, doesn't have lasting benefits. But it's nice.
And with magic mushrooms, though, you get... So, in the 20 minutes it takes to drink the tea, it takes 20 minutes to brew the tea. You have to let it steep for 20 minutes. And then after you drink the tea, it takes about half an hour for it to kick in. So for that 50 minutes of work, I guess, well, the half an hour is not really work. So 20 minutes of work basically gets you 6 hours of euphoria.
About as much work as it takes to bake a pot of coffee.
Right.
Or brew some tea.
And instead of just giving you a little caffeine buzz, it gives you 6 hours of pure euphoria with no real side effects.
Now, we're assuming that you have safe mushrooms and all of that.
Right, in a positive environment, that's really important. We should probably, any mushroom video you want to be sure miss that early. It's all about the environment. Basically, the way psychedelics work is they just amplify the environment around you in the simplest way. And they amplify your inner thoughts. And so, if you're having a negative trip, it is kind of self-induced. You have control over it. And so a positive environment that you're comfortable. I think being outside in nature in the woods is basically essential. I wouldn't want to be cooped up inside all day. That's just too many chances for...
So there's 9 reasons. Euphoria is only number 9. What would be number 8?
I feel like we still haven't covered the euphoria yet.
Oh, okay. So maybe we should have made it higher.
Well, no, because, the value of euphoria is pretty good.
Well, you said it best. You went for 20 minutes, you get 6 hours. That's called a peak experience. Maybe you should tell them about that. We'll have to break it down. Euphoria is most highly at the peak, the first 4 hours.
Yeah, with mushrooms, it lasts about 6 to 8 hours would be the full trip usually. But like you said, you have a peak experience of roughly 2 to 4 hours in. Is where the peak experience will happen.
Number 9 is euphoria, but if you are only in it for the euphoria, you're only getting half the experience.
Not even half. You're getting a ninth of it.
That's why it's number 9.
You're getting a ninth of the experience.
Okay, but number 8, when you get ready, fits into the other one, really, doesn't it? Oh, I didn't want to give it away, but we got number 8 is euphoria. Number 9 is euphoria. Is the 9th best reason to take magic mushrooms. It's a good reason. Euphoria is probably good enough reason. It's probably why they're popular.
I don't think so. I think, like I said, the euphoria is a very small part of it. But it is interesting. The way you experience the euphoria is what makes it unique. Out of any fucking drug I've ever tried, they all have the same kind of thing. You have, you ingest it, smoke it, whatever you do, and then you usually have about an hour of feeling the effects for real, and then you have to dose up again. and you have to just keep dosing over and over and over and over, whether it's coke, cigarettes, marijuana, heroin, painkillers, any of them. I never really tried the heroin. I can't speak for that too much.
That doesn't help you much with this stuff.
No, it doesn't. It actually is counterproductive. Your body, we'll get into that later, but your body actually, the receptors, and basically if you try to just, like if you trip one day, it takes double the dose the next day to have the same kind of experience. And then on the third day, if you try to do it, nothing's really gonna happen. You're not gonna want to. You're gonna be totally content, is what I've always found. You never want to do it again immediately because you had, such a rush of experiences to, go through that you really just want to sit and process it. So it's not addictive at all. It's not like other drugs where you need that fix. It's almost like it puts you more in balance when you're done. So anyway, that kind of gets into number 8 a little bit. The 8th reason you should do magic mushrooms is gratitude. And that's like, what? How are mushrooms and gratitude connected, right? But
well, I mean, as being an English major, gratitude. Well, what does it mean?
Being grateful.
How can you be grateful unless you got something?
Well, I think that's what the mushrooms do, is they give you a greater awareness of what you already have.
They give you reasons to be grateful.
Right.
You basically notice it more.
You notice the blessings that have always been there, the things like, the fact that the earth provides everything you could ever want. And,
but it does seem to be part of that euphoria, then.
It is part of it, yeah. But they're tied together. The euphoria is caused by the gratitude, really. The intense gratitude you feel, and the just like, wow, I'm just amazed at what this world actually is. I think that's what causes the euphoria. Just that, like, wow, that's unbelievable. I never felt this way before. Never realized how many things I should be thankful for. Like, just the oxygen you're breathing is wonderful, the water. It's just a sip of water is the best thing in the world. And just it's basically the intensity of the feelings. Like, I remember when I first did it, I didn't do the mushrooms, I did LSD. It's very similar. LSD comes from ergo. So the active component in magic mushrooms is psilocybin. And so, you have your psilocybin, LSD, which is like, lethargic sorbic acid. I don't know. It's something. I forget how to fucking pronounce it. It doesn't really matter. It's LSD. Everybody knows what that is.
The CIA can tell you if you want to know.
Yeah, if you have any questions.
Because they invented it.
No, they didn't.
Well, they say they did.
No.
Okay.
It was invented by a Swedish man. Basically, it was almost completely by accident. He had some ergo mold he was doing experiments with, and it stayed out a couple days too late, and he took it, and then he discovered LSD.
But we're talking about mushrooms.
Right, yeah, but anyway, so getting to the point, so anyway, getting to the point, the first time I ever did any kind of psychedelic substance, the thing that really got to me was the fact that I felt like everything I was doing it for the first time. Eating a papaya. Felt like it was the first time I was eating a papaya. Just, walking outside, in the woods felt like the first time I'd ever seen woods, And that was on a very small dose. It was my first time ever. And, the energy I felt like boundless, like I could do anything, like moving was no trouble. Carrying a watermelon or a case of water, from the car to the picnic table, not a problem. Just vibing, always knowing exactly where to go. Just, I don't know. And it was really fascinating to me the first time I did it. And I think so it kind of happens in stages. So at first you do become kind of fascinated with the euphoria, But like you said, you very quickly get into the gratitude stage. And then so the gratitude creates number 7. It is interesting they do feed into each other. We didn't plan that, but it kind of works out the way we did it. Kind of neat. Anyway, number 7 on the list of reasons you should try magic mushrooms is they help you develop empathy. and feeling together and connected.
That's a good point. I mean, people aren't naturally that way. The society doesn't encourage it. You have to be almost forced to be empathy, look out for the other guy. But we're dog eat dog, so it's nothing. If it nothing else, it would be worth it to have done that.
Right. And it develops the empathy a lot deeper than you would normally associate with the word, because like you were saying, when the first time you did it, you felt like you were seeing everything from the world's perspective instead of your own.
Right, because I wasn't used to doing that. It just was that kind of a eye opener. Like you walk down the street and you see birds land on a branch, and you realize that bird's got a life. And so does the tree. And you see how it all fits together. And so whether you like marmalade and hot coffee, and doesn't matter as much as it did. You see that from the perspective of the big picture. And that's helpful. That's part of the lifetime benefits. If you learn to see the big picture, why do you just stop when the drug wears off?
That's pretty good.
Because it wears off, but now you've lived 8 hours of your life and did things you wouldn't have thought of doing, and your brain gets these synapses, and now all of a sudden they're yours. They're in your pathways, and the brain is expanding. It's what they call a mind-expanding drug. That sounds like a bad thing when they tell you, oh, it's a mind-expanding drug. Like your brain's going to blow up.
Right.
What's wrong with mind? So far, nothing we've talked about would be bad.
Right. Not at all.
So we'll get to the bad stuff, I guess.
And we'll talk about some of the bad at the end. We will get. There are negatives. I mean, it's not. Nothing is. I mean, that could have been a whole other reason.
But they weren't.
Could add. But it kind of gets into the togetherness a little bit. Is nothing is black and white, and I think that's another thing that could tie into that a little bit. With the empathy, you start to realize nothing's black and white. There is no bad guys and good guys. There's just guys that are doing things, and they're responding to their environment just like you are. They're just not responding the proper way, maybe, or basically, I don't know. The duality of things. It helps you see the duality of things. There's a duality to everything. Nothing is black and white. It's just shades of gray. Anyway. So number 6, which kind of we're just getting into, is the lasting psychological benefits. There have been studies done that have shown that, and I think just about anybody that's ever done them would agree that even one dose can have positive impacts for the rest of your life, really. The lessons you can learn will never leave you.
Because it expands your mind. Now your mind is better, it's bigger, it's more functional. You can do more. You just have more capacity. Lifetime benefits, is that something unique, or is that guaranteed? In other words, does everybody remember 10 years later because of the one trip, or is that just normal? Or
yeah, I would think so. I mean, I think everybody's gonna remember their first trip. I know I'll never really forget mine.
For me, it helps you understand how the brain works, and if you know anything about how the brain works, a lot of people do. You can read about it, but the brain is a electrical, energy-driven device, for lack of a better word. It throws off electrical energy, and you have pathways. And when you do things like routinely, those become just normal pathways, and sometimes that's the path of least resistance. You just do what you're comfortable with. But once you do one thing you're not comfortable with and find out it's fun, do you not ever do it again?
Right, you do it over and over and over.
Right, you find a great path in the woods, you're just going to ignore it because, that was yesterday. Too bad I can't use that again.
Right, no, you use it tomorrow. Right. Anytime you want to go to it.
Because you learned.
Right. Yeah, that is another interesting thing. I think that's why you see such long-term benefits. Is you said you learn how the brain works, and you really do. I mean, it sounds kind of silly because we all realize it's your brain's processing information and blah 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 blah. But with the mushrooms, you really see like, okay, that light's coming in and it's doing this and that's doing that to my brain and that sound's doing this and I touch that and this is happening, and you really see like almost like in pixels or layers, like multiple layers, almost like you're looking at like some weird picture with strange perspective where you can see multiple perspectives just by turning your head one way or this way. You know what I'm saying?
I could see the energy.
Yeah.
But personally, it was just all around you.
Right, yeah, you see the energy flowing.
You can literally see it.
Right, the abundance of it.
And so, yeah, that's kind of makes your brain think differently.
Yeah, once you see it, it's there.
And it kind of goes into that physics thing, which I'm not versed on physics, but the microscopic thing that's only when it's observed it becomes active.
You're talking about the Heisenberg uncertainty principle?
I guess.
Yeah.
So that sort of fits in line with that. This energy that is around you, it may be in the same way. Like when you observe it, now you can use it. But when you don't observe it, you can't really process it maybe as much as you could otherwise. That's how I see it. Helps you process this energy. Now you go, what's this energy do? Psychic energy. It's not seen. But with this LSD or this mushrooms, I can see it because I'm kind of looking for it. But anyway, that's kind of a segue to nowhere. But that's how I can tell when it wears off. Is when I have to sort of reach to see that energy. But then I go like, I know it was there when I was under this little acid trip, so it didn't go away.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really go away. That's where you get the lifetime benefit. The way you saw the world and was organized, you realize it wasn't like it just looked that way. That's the way it is. You just saw it. So energy is a big part of it. But it is natural. Did we get to that, or is that something that's one of our benefits, isn't it?
That's the next one.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
Yeah, so it is a naturally occurring compound. And of course, all the hippies, it's natural, man. How are they gonna ban a plant? But, I mean, with LSD and, MDMA and Molly and all the designer drugs, it's chemically synthesized, so you are doing drugs at that point, I would say for sure. With the mushroom, I think you're kind of straddling a line a little bit. You're not really doing drugs, you're really just eating a mushroom or drinking tea that happens to have some really good benefits. So it's not, I don't know.
Kind of like DMT in a way, in the sense that it's already in your body.
Yeah.
But it's also probably a contraband substance, which makes all of you illegal.
Wow,
you're all
smarter than, right?
You're all criminals. You know that, don't you? All of you have a contraband of DMT at high levels.
Even you, Mr. Businessman.
Yeah, all of you. Yeah.
All of you.
Now, it may not do much for you, but...
It's a really trace amount, but...
Anyway.
You probably don't know how to use it if you don't know it's already there. And so, the mushrooms are kind of like that. I mean, everything's a natural substance because everything comes from the planet. I mean, but, this is not... It's not made in a laboratory. It's not designed. It's just... The mushrooms has psilocybin in it and whatever quantities it does. And so number 5, it's natural, it's not synthetic. It sounds kind of like a lame reason a little bit, but it's not, because it is a subtle difference. Like the LSD is a little different, the MDMA and all that shit, it's a little different.
All right, go ahead.
The concentrated DMT, at that point, you could argue that you might be abusing the system. With the mushrooms, I feel like you can't argue that because these things have grown for thousands of years. They've been used in shamanic rituals for thousands of years. And, they follow the lunar cycle. And so it seems almost like they're designed to be used by us. Not designed, but like, they're here for a reason. And, enjoy them. You can learn a lot from them. And so...
you've been invited to try them. They make them so convenient in the way it should be taken. In other words, the woods, a natural environment, seems to be preferable to like inside.
Yeah.
Not necessarily saying you can't have a good experience inside, but it is much more fun to go outside. So go back to the shamans and the woodsmen that would have a mushroom festival on the full moon. Okay, and so if they had done that, that would be getting them all together. But the point is, if they chose to do it on a full moon only, it'd be the perfect dosage.
Yeah.
That's all I was getting at. And
the mushrooms grow on the lunar cycle.
Yeah, they grow that way. The trees.
It takes 28 days for them to come from spore to harvest.
So it's almost like the manna in the Jewish scholars, the manna that came from heaven.
Yeah.
Is that if you eat all you want, but if you store it, it rots in like 24 hours.
Right.
Okay. So mushrooms, you can't really. It's like nature's made it there for you, but by the way,
you can't overdo it.
Right. It's.
I mean, let me rephrase it. You can overdo it. But
you can't add to the euphoria.
Right, the euphoria is a peak, and there's nothing you can do to make it go higher. And really, you never want to. You have as much euphoria as you can manage. You have no reason to seek more.
Like you said earlier, before we started doing this, you can have the euphoria, but it actually kind of wears off, and life grinds at you. But that's but not fatally, but it grinds. So do another month, you refresh, and over time you probably you don't really
you get into a cycle. You probably wouldn't even need the mushrooms after a certain point.
You probably wouldn't.
Just the lunar cycle would be enough for you, but we're not telling you to do them once a month. Like, try them once.
Well, the point there was that there wouldn't be any benefit to doing it more than once a month.
No.
You wouldn't get the same effect. You'd just be taking the mushroom.
Right.
Because you can get this peak. Your body can't really process that peak again till you cycle 30 days of living. And then you can try it again, and it's just like the last time. So it's like it's a way it's done by nature, and it works. You can violate that, and you might get a stomachache.
The biggest difference I can tell you is most other drugs, as soon as the drug wears off, you're thinking, man, I wish I could do some more of those drugs. Every time I come down from a trip, I'm like, man, it feels good to be back. That was fun. But you're not like, oh man, I need, let me get another fix. You're satisfied. Like, you don't want to do it again for a minute. You want to just, remember it.
It's like coming back from a vacation.
Exactly, yeah. It's like coming back from a vacation.
You don't have to take 8 vacations in a row. You just enjoy that one.
Right.
For 8 months.
Right.
Take another one.
Right, exactly. And, so anyway, we made it through 5 reasons so far. I think we're doing pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Does it make you more talented? In other words, would I get magical powers from the magic mushroom?
No. You will not get more magic. You will not get magical powers. It's not a silver bullet. It's not, wizard's magic potion. The mushrooms don't do... earlier before we started recording, you kind of protested to calling them hallucinogens because you didn't feel like they were hallucinations, and you're right in a way. Wait, where was I going with that?
They weren't hallucinations, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
they were revelations.
Revelations, but the things you discover were always there.
Exactly.
And so you're just aware of them now. The mushrooms aren't magic. Calling them magic mushrooms, they are magic in a way, but they don't create anything. They just reflect what's inside of you and amplify it. And so that brings us into reason number 4 why you should do magic mushrooms, is you will become aware of innate talents that you might not have realized you had. Like, I picked up painting. Well, I mean, I've always painted and stuff, but I got back into it and realized that I could actually do a lot with just the little bit of skill I have. And, you become aware of all kinds of things. And, for me, what I've noticed is just like your ability to utilize your resources to where before, you might have felt like, I can't do this. Now you're like, I can do this. I have plenty. I have so much I don't even know where to get started. As far as like artistic inspiration, So I think it's very good if you're a creative person to try it for sure, definitely.
Yeah.
But I don't think it creates any talent. I think it just kind of enhances what's already there. Like, if you're good at something sober, like if you're really good at something sober and you try it while you're tripping, you're gonna be slightly better at it. It enhances your ability to focus, enhances your ability to tune out distractions. It kind of has almost the effect of Adderall in a way, without it. Adderall can be kind of addictive because it's a amphetamine, but basically LSD gives you the effect of a amphetamine.
First of all,
and like a aphrodisiac, it's basically like. It's like 9 drugs rolled into one with no side effects. And
so it must be addictive as hell, though.
It's not addictive at all, because what we were talking about earlier, it's basically impossible to become an addict to this. Your body won't let you. The receptors in your body to these compounds, they can only be stimulated so much.
Okay.
And after a certain amount of stimulation, they have to recover. So you can sit there and chew, drink cup after cup, or just, sheet after sheet of acid. And eventually, at a certain point, you'll just feel nothing.
So what if you're psychologically addicted? I know it's not physically addicted, but some people get psychologically addicted to paper clips. I mean, what if you just thought you had to have some?
Well,
what happens? You just get a stomachache.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Basically.
So nature took care of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's perfect, because the guy that abuses it simply gets a little bit of a stomachache,
and
anxiety.
eventually, basically what happens is if you abuse it, eventually you're going to have a bad trip and you're going to want to stop for a while.
And also you might limit your peak level.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. If you do it multiple days in a row, you really can't peak 2 days in a row. It's impossible.
Right. So
it's not going to happen. I don't care. I mean, you can do enough mushrooms where you won't be able to tell. You'll forget what dimension you're in, but you won't really be peaking in the same way. And basically, I'm not gonna say it's impossible to get addicted to it, because I'm sure. I mean, like you said, people get addicted to all kinds of fucking shit.
Well, psychological
addictions, but physically there is no physical addiction. In fact, it's the opposite of a physical addiction. Your body's like, nah, we're good.
But if, as opposed to say something like heroin,
right,
this
is nothing.
The effects of literally just overconsumption would, like I said, are limited to just
a stomachache.
Yeah, very localized distress, like a bad hangover,
right,
or a little anxiety,
right. And you might have a panic attack if you take too much and you trip too much. And
it does work better when you're doing any of this with someone else.
Well, that's yeah. I mean, it's definitely a group activity. You want to be doing it with your friends or your family. People you trust, that you're going to be safe with, that you're going to have a good time with. People that are going to have the vibes that you want to have.
Drink a lot of water.
Eat lots of fruit.
And
avoid alcohol. You don't have to. It's not like you don't have to be a prohibitionist, but honestly, I feel like if you're tripping and you take a sip of alcohol, you're gonna immediately put it down. But I don't know, if you're at the pool party and I don't know what you do when you're tripping. You can do whatever you want. If you happen to consume a beer, it's not going to kill you, but don't get drunk. I would advise against that. I don't think that would be a very good idea.
Now, a lot of your cannabis lovers have said they think it goes with the experience quite well.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what
I don't want to say it's required, because if you don't already smoke cannabis, probably wouldn't want to mix them.
But I was just comparing it to alcohol. You
Yeah.
said alcohol actually doesn't get the alcohol effect; just ruins both. Actually, makes you drunk to go bad, and makes your trip go bad.
Yeah.
So,
Like I
but-
said, I've never gotten drunk. I have drank alcohol while tripping, and it's just like, it doesn't mix.
But-
I just avoid it.
Right.
You know, it's not, you know, honestly, you know, if you're tripping right, you'll never think about it.
I used to be into herbs, and I studied them a long time. And one of the common things is that mind-altering drugs or hallucinogens. Nature has about 8 or more, but at least 8 basic kinds. And cannabis, mushrooms, they're kind of the same, basically, a family of effect.
Yeah.
Not the effect.
Not effect, but they pair very nicely.
They pair good.
It's like a good red wine and a nice rare steak.
Right, and of course either one is independently fine without the other.
Right.
And you know,
But put them together, you'll have a good time.
yeah, just but we're trying to paint a picture that it's not something that the drug attitude should be just white flush. That's not what this is. The shamans and all those priests, they used it with a lot of sincerity, and they respected it.
Yeah.
And, you know, because it is a spiritually sort of enlightening kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
You can't go around and say it doesn't affect you that way. You see the higher
Purpose, higher energies. You know, even if you're not particularly religious, because I'm not a very religious person, I think most of that's bullshit. But it does kind of give you an awareness that there is a consciousness that is above you.
right, which
and
is all
other dimensions that are above you.
It's all spirituality is.
Right. And you know, it makes you, I don't know, like that really brings us into reason number 2 very nicely. Is expanding your mind. We already mentioned this earlier a little bit, but you know, expanding your mind, and you know, in the sense what we're talking about, you know, recognizing that you are just one tiny human on a tiny rock in a huge universe. Puts you outside your body. You leave your body. That body doesn't matter anymore. And then you really see things how they really are when you're not worried about you. And you know, not even you in a selfish way, like you're not worried about making sure you have food or oxygen or are comfortable or warm. You're just existing. And you just become aware that there's an entire universe all about you.
Seems like it expands your curiosity.
Right.
And so that was, since there's no fatigue or feeling of like, oh, that's a beautiful tree. Well, you know, oh, I don't want to walk over there. It looks like it might be some briar. But when you this way, oh, you just kind of at the tree.
You just end up at the tree.
Yeah, and then
And then you start looking at the roots, and you're like, wow, look at these roots now. You know, look at how this. And then you see this tree is connected to this tree, and then you see a little frog sitting there. You know, you just find all kinds of things.
and your brain, like I talked earlier, those synapses get activated that never would have. That's how it expands your mind. It's not like some magic potion.
Right.
You
It's
just do more,
Right.
and your mind expands.
Like, yeah, I mean, that's really what happens. It makes you change your normal path, which starts carving a new pathway, which makes all kinds of things happen.
And you keep that.
Right.
'Cause your
It's
brain-
carved in your fucking brain.
Yeah, your brain expanded. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah,
You've expanded your neural network.
exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people that do these, and smartly, they do it with intent.
Right.
I do. If I ever indulge in it, I'm going to learn as much as I can, expand my brain a lot.
That's why if you meditate, you will benefit from this a lot. If you're already a practiced meditator, if you have experience just meditating.
Can be an assist.
Also, if you never meditated before but you wanted to, tripping is actually a great way to start. Because for me, people used to talk about meditation and all the benefits, and I'd be like, how could it possibly do that? And then you take a little little mushroom and you see what that does, and then, you know, basically, like, I learned what meditating actually meant when I was tripping. I'm like, oh, when you're meditating, you're trying to get to here. And so I knew where to go, you know, and so once you know where to go, it's just a matter of figuring out how to get there. It's very easy. You just keep trying and you get better at it.
If I was trying to teach somebody how to meditate, and that's what I was going to do, like I'm going to teach you how to meditate because you want to know, I would provide you with some tea from mushrooms and get you comfortable. And from the very get-go, and your meditation process would be fruitful faster.
Right.
But it wouldn't change anything.
Wouldn't change anything.
It might save you 20 years.
Exactly.
So that's all I'm saying.
20 years, yeah, exactly. It's kind of like if you're trying to make a, you know, because we're talking about, you know, metaphysics and spirituality. It's like trying to make a map of a land that's like beyond the sea, through the fog, underwater, you know. And so, you know, the mushrooms kind of help you. You go to that land a little bit. And once you go there, you're like, okay, well, I know how to get here. And then from here, we figure out how to go there. And then we figure out how to go there. Just like, you know, when you know, people were sailing and they landed on an uncharted land. You know, you chart it. And then eventually you know where it is and where things are. And, you know, that's how this works. And so that's what I see this is the catalyst to get you developing your metaphysical self.
You remember Carl Sagan's point about the flat people that lived on the one little line, the two-dimensional people?
Yeah.
And then so say one of them took 4 of them, not one. A group took some acid and they discovered height. Okay, well, that'd be much better if 4 of them did it instead of 1.
Right.
But now those people would probably bring the rest of them up and they would grow, and now everybody lives in 3 dimensions.
Exactly.
So maybe, who knows where the limit is.
Exactly. And so, I think that's actually a great way to close it out, is number 1, the number 1 reason why you should try magic mushrooms. You'll experience the world in a completely unique way that you've never experienced before.
And wouldn't have, probably, without it.
Exactly.
So that's a good number 1 reason. And it beat out euphoria by 8 notches. And so, if I may, you telling me you're going to give me euphoria, I can learn how to have gratitude, life becomes beautiful, I have more empathy for my fellow man, from a natural product, I learn my innate talents, it's not addictive in my mind, it expands and I experience the world differently, but that should be illegal. That should be illegal. They can't be doing that.
Of course they can.
Yeah, and so that's all that we wanted to make the point. It may be illegal, but that's all we discovered that it does.
So, do with that what you will.
Right. That's pretty much all we have.
Well, I do want to talk about some of the negative effects, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to wrap it up, I mean,
so
first,
there's the top 9 reasons for, and now here's the...
And I'm going to give you some just word of advice from somebody that's done this a lot, things to be careful of, and, you know, so you know what's normal and if something's going awry. I don't know. Nausea is very normal. Intense sweating is very normal. It's hard to focus. You become very distracted very easily. As you can probably tell.
Those are things that can happen, but mainly they happen when you don't do some of the things like drink water and have a good environment. If you got a lot of people around you and you kind of...
Oh, yeah. Well, there is a point where, you know, after about 6 hours, you will feel very weird.
Right.
You know.
Like you go like, I wish I just could go to sleep and eat some pork.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, you feel very exhausted. You feel very drained. Not drained. Drained isn't the right word. Exhausted isn't the right word because it's actually sometimes difficult to go to sleep. It's like you live in this weird space where you're still feeling the stimulation, but you've lost the euphoria. that could be that's something, that's an unpleasant aspect a little bit for me. Not unpleasant, but
That's when you need a little help from your environment.
right.
You need to have, like, the morning after needs to be peaceful and not stressful.
Right.
So you would want to have some free time.
Free time, yeah. You
when
don't
you
want to have to go to work the next morning.
No. I mean, that's just the way I look at it.
Right.
So, anyways, the negatives sound pretty good reasons for making a Schedule 1 drug
Absolutely, yeah.
thing. Those are horrible things to have. What were they again?
Slight nausea.
Oh my God! And
Scatterbrained a little bit.
scatterbrained a little bit. Well, that's gotta make that illegal. Well, that'd be about a 30-year term for anybody to try that, to inflict that on my great people. Just so they may lose a few things like euphoria, gratitude, and togetherness, and you get the point.
Right.
It shouldn't be illegal. Our opinion, it is. Be careful.